محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد صلى الله وسلم عليك يا أبا عبد الله روحي وأرواح العالمين لك الفداء يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Tonight is the 8th night of Muharram al-Haram, and on this night we remember the standard bearer of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. I have always held that just like it is difficult to do justice to the fada'il of Amir al-Mu'mineen, it is very, very difficult to do justice to the Masaeb of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Where you have someone like Ali al-Akbar, who is the splitting image of the Prophet. You have Abbas, who is the Hashemite moon, Qamar Bani Hashim. He is a prince amongst princes. I have not seen any Shaheed who has as many titles and names as Abbas. Hamilul Liwa, that we in Farsi or Urdu call Alamdar. Saqqai Sakina, Ghazi, Babul Hawaij. He was not an ordinary person. He is called Babul Hawaij. The only other person we call Babul Hawaij is the 7th Imam. So where a Ma'soom Imam is called Babul Hawaij, Abul Fadl al-Abbas is called Babul Hawaij. Because on the day of Ashura, he had only one wish, and that wish was not fulfilled. So Allah made a pact with Abbas. I will not fulfill this one wish of yours, but in exchange, anyone who comes to you and asks me on your behalf, I will fulfill their wish. I want to narrate a miracle of Abul Fadl Abbas before I come to his Masaeb. And I've heard this from a reputable scholar. He says he was in Iraq, and in Karbala they have an office for the guidance of pilgrims and people who are lost and so on. And this incident happened just about 2 or 3 years before COVID. And one of the people at that office is telling this alim the story. He says some very strange things happen here. And he says, I'll share one of them. He says, one day, on the day of Arba'een, a lady showed up in our office. And she said, I have lost my 2-month-old baby. They said, how did you lose your 2-month-old baby? She said, I was walking from Najaf to Karbala with my mother. And she was on a wheelchair. And I put my baby on my mother's lap. And as I was walking with the pilgrims, a young man showed up and said to me, you're having a hard time pushing this, let me help you. So he was helping me push, but he was young, he was strong, and he was moving quickly, and he was zigzagging through the crowd, and I tried to keep up, but at some point I lost him. I kept trying to run after him, but at some point I lost him. I have come to Karbala, but my baby is still being nursed. He's only 2 months old. Help me find my baby. This person says, there were 10 million pilgrims in Karbala. How do you find a 2-month-old in the midst of 10 million people? And he said, for 2 days, we went around with this lady, going to this haram, trying to find. He says, we said to this lady, give us your mother's number, let's call her. She said, she doesn't have a phone. He said, give us her name, we will page her and announce. She said, she can't, she's mute and deaf. She can't speak, she can't hear. She will not know you're calling her. So now they're visually searching for a 2-month-old amongst 10 million. On the 3rd day, this man says, we were in the haram, and I saw an Iraqi lady facing the haram of Abul Fadl al-Abbas, nursing a baby. He said, I just thought it's the lady's baby. I wish if this was the baby we were looking for. Somewhere behind her, there was a wheelchair. So he said, I went to this mother and I said to the mother, did this wheelchair resemble the one that your mother was on? So when she went to look at the wheelchair, she saw the baby as well. She said, this is my baby, this is my baby. And the Iraqi lady stood up and gave her the baby very nicely. So now they interviewed the Iraqi lady. How did you find this baby? She said, 3 nights ago I was sleeping. In my dream, I saw a luminous figure that had no arms. He said to me, oh lady, you have just given birth to a child and you are nursing a baby. This year, I have a 2-month-old guest who has come to see me, but he has lost his mother. Come to my haram, I want you to look after my guest for 3 days and then the mother will come for him. She says, the Iraqi lady, she says, I came with my husband. We stood in front of the haram of Abul Fadl and said, Abul Fadl, where is your guest? And suddenly, she says, I saw a man with a wheelchair and a baby screaming as if it would perish. I tried to talk to the lady, but she couldn't speak, she couldn't hear. And then with gestures, I asked her, do you want me to feed the baby? She said, yes. I took the baby home and I took the mother home and I looked after them. And she said, every morning I come, I sit in front of Abul Fadl and I wait for the mother. So even a 2-month-old who cannot speak and say, Abul Fadl, I've lost my mother, he looks after them. This is why he is Babul Hawaij. He was a tall man, a towering figure. If you went to Karbala, Hussein would not have a shadow because he was always around him. He was a military genius. If you go until now to the Mukhayyam there, you will see the first khayma is of Abbas. No one could even look towards the Khayyam as long as he was there. The books of hadith says, إِنَّهُ كَانَ رَجُلٌ جَمِيلٌ كَالْجَبَلِ الْعَظِيمِ وَالتَّوْدِ الْجَسِيمِ. He was a handsome man, a towering figure. When he moved, it was like a mountain was moving. Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam says, the loss of Abbas to my father was like the loss of Hamza to the Prophet. That is how significant he was. But he wasn't just a warrior and a protector. He was an alim, an abid, a zahid. There was a man who carried the head of Abbas, and he was a very handsome man. And after he carried the head of Abbas, his face disfigured. He became extremely ugly and unpleasant to look at. And there was somebody who knew him. This is in the books of Aza and Maqatil and Hadith. So that man asked this man, what happened to you? You were such a handsome man. And the way he described what he had done, he said, I carried the head of a man who was an abid and a zahid and an alim. And on him was athar of sujood. There were marks of sujood on him. This is Abul Fadl al-Abbas. When Shimr came to Karbala, he came to Abbas and said, I have a letter of amnesty for you, an amana for you and your brothers if you leave Hussein. He was fiercely loyal to his brother. He said, Tabbat yadak ya Shimr, may your hands perish. La'anaka wa la'ana amanak. Allah curse you and curse this amnesty. You give me amnesty and not the grandson of the Prophet. This was his loyalty. When we read Ziyarat Waritha, look at what we say about Abul Fadl al-Abbas. وَلَأَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً إِسْتَحَلَّتْ مِنْكَ الْمَحَارِمِ. And God cursed those who made lawful what was forbidden when they killed you. وَانْتَحْكَتْ حُرْمَةَ الْإِسْلَامِ. When they killed you, O Abbas, they violated the sanctity of Islam. On the day of Ashura, we are told that when Abbas was patrolling the camp and the tent, Zuhair ibn al-Qayn came to him and said, Oh Abul Fadl, there is something I want to remind you about your father Amir al-Mu'mineen. And Abul Fadl said to him, because I am guarding the camp, I cannot come down from my horse. But because you mentioned my father, I will listen to you. He said, Oh Abbas, I want to remind you that you were born for this day. Your father had asked his brother Aqil for a woman who would give him a son like you. He wanted you for this day. When Abbas heard this, He came into Jalal. He held the reins of his horse with force. He pushed his feet down on the stirrups and said, Atushajji'uni ya Zuhair. Are you trying to make me courageous, O Zuhair? Wait until I go fight. I will show you a jihad that you have never witnessed in your life. Because Abbas is already looking. He has already computed how I will decimate this army. There is no way they will touch Hussein and Zainab when I go and fight. And so he constantly came to Hussein, Mawla, let me go fight. And Hussein kept saying to him, Abbas, you are the commander of my army. As long as you are there, the women feel safe. You cannot go and fight, O Abbas. He kept asking again and again. There came a time when Abbas alayhi salam came to Abba Abdullah and said, Mawla, my heart is now constrained from this world. Let me go and fight these hypocrites. And Hussein said, Abbas, but you are the commander of my army. And Abbas said to him, Abba Abdullah, where is the army now? Which army's commander am I now, Hussein? It is only you and I. And Hussein knows that if Abbas fights, history will write this battle differently. So he does not want Abbas to go. And it is an elevation of Abbas. He is learning submission. He does not complain. He does not argue with his master Hussein. Hussein says to him, Oh Abbas, the children are very thirsty. They have been crying Al-Atash for 3 days. Go fetch some water for them. So Abbas goes, and as he goes, Hussein's 4-year-old Sakina comes to him and says, Ammu Abbas, my thirst is killing me. This is his favorite niece. Abbas lifts Sakina and hugs her. He takes the mashkiza of Sakina and he ties it to his alam. As he is about to set out, Hussein calls his brother Abbas one more time. He says, Abbas, you are going to fetch water, but we do not know what danger lies ahead. Before you go, go bid farewell to Zainab. Abbas is dressed in his armor. Abbas looks like Amir al-Mu'mineen. He comes into the tent. He lowers his head before his older sister Zainab. He says to her, Mawlati, my master Hussein has asked me to go fetch water for the children, but he has asked me to take permission from you before I go. Zainab, with what hasra, must have looked at Abbas. She hugged her brother and said, Go Abbas, get water. But before you go, there is something I must tell you, Abbas. Abbas, when my father was the caliph in Kufa, he used to tell me, Zainab, there will come a day when you will be tied in ropes and you will be paraded in this very streets of Kufa. I knew my father was right, but I used to look at you and think, one who has a brother like Abbas? Who will ever dare to tie ropes on me? Ajrukum ala Allah. Bas Abbas got on his horse. He began going towards Furat. Sakina called all the children. Come, all children. My Ammu Abbas has gone to get water. For sure your thirst will be quenched now. The children stood by the tent, watching the alam as it disappeared on the horizon. Umar ibn Saad saw that Alamdar of Hussein is now coming. He reinforced his army. There were 4,000. He multiplied them. He said, Abbas is going towards Furat. Whatever happens, water must not reach Furat. Abbas kept going. He started slow and then he kept galloping. The enemies saw him coming, but no one dared come near Abbas. The closer he got to Furat, the further they moved away. Their army, without Abbas even pulling a sword or a spear out, began moving aside. It split like the sea split for Musa alayhi salam. Abbas is showing them, come if you dare near me. He came towards Furat. He lowered and went down into the banks of Furat. He got into the river of Furat. He felt the cold water of Furat. He took the water in his hand. Now here Imam Sajjad alayhi salam says, he says, on the day that my uncle Abbas went into the Furat, he was so thirsty, his heart was burning like a piece of coal. But Abbas took the water. He looked at the water. He remembered his master Hussein is thirsty. My heart tells me he must have seen Sakina in that water. He threw the water down. He put the mashkiza in the water. He filled it up. He tied it. He put it over his right shoulder. He walked out of the banks into the horse. Now Abbas has only one aim and one aim in life. His mind is completely focused on only one thing. His lips says only one prayer. My Lord, let me get this water to the children. Whatever happens, this water must reach there. Abbas begins racing with speed through the enemies. Umar ibn Saad kept crying, water must not reach the camp of Hussein. As they began surrounding him from all sides, Abbas found another way to get through some trees into the desert towards the Khayyam. They began hiding behind the trees. As he kept racing towards the Khayyam, a wretch came out from one of the trees and struck his right arm and severed his right arm. When Abbas's right arm was severed, he grabbed the mashkiza with his left arm. He put it over his left arm. Abbas is not thinking of his arm. He keeps racing towards the Khayyam. Another Mal'oon comes from the other side and severs the left arm of Abbas. When Abbas's left arm is severed, he grabs the mashkiza with his teeth. Abbas lowers himself on the horse. He is protecting the mashkiza with everything he can. The enemies surround him. At some point he needs to find his bearing and see where is the Khayyam. He lifts his head to look, where is my Sakina and where are the tents? Hurmala sees an opportunity. He takes a three-pronged arrow and fires it at the mashkiza of Sakina. When the mashkiza was pierced and the water began falling all over Abbas, Abbas turned his horse back towards Furat. Abbas, you have no hands now. How will you bring more water for Sakina? A Shaqi shoots an arrow into the eye of Abbas. The blood covers his other eye. He now has no arms and he cannot see anything before him. فجاء شقي وضربه على رأسه بعمود من حديد. A wretched man came from behind. He took an iron rod and hit Abbas on the head. When Abbas fell, he called out, Ya akha, adrik akhak, my brother, come to your brother. Abbas, Hussein got on the horse and began charging towards the enemies. They saw Hussein coming, they began running in all directions. He said to them, Ila aina tafirun, wa qad qataltum akhi wa kasartum dhahri. Where are you running, O cowards? You have killed my brother and broken my back. When Hussein came towards Furat, he got off his horse. He began walking slowly in disbelief and shock at seeing his brother Abbas. Abbas heard some footsteps. He began saying, Oh man, if you have come to behead me, wait a few minutes. My brother is coming to see me. Hussein, Gharib Hussein came closer and said, It is I who have come, O Abbas. Hussein sat at the head of Abbas. He put the head of Abbas on his laps. Abbas immediately moved his head into the sand. Hussein put his head again. Abbas moved his head again. Abbas, why do you keep moving your head? Mawla, there is only you and I left. On whose lap will your head be? I would say, Abbas, have no fear. Zahra will be waiting for Hussein. Hussein's head will be on the lap of Zahra. Hussein asked his brother Abbas, My brother Abbas, do you have any last wishes? He said, Mawla, I have an arrow in one eye. There is blood in the other. I wish to see you one last time. Hussein wiped the blood from Abbas's eye. He looked at Hussein. He said, Mawla, do not take my body back to the camp. I do not know. Is Abbas thinking, how will Hussein lift my body? Or is he thinking, how will I face Sakina? She is waiting for water. Now the books of Azhar say, when Abbas took his last breath, فَقَامَ الْحُسَيْنِ, Hussein stood up. فَنَظَرَ يَمِينًا وَشِمَالًا, he began looking to the right and to the left. فَلَمْ يَرَ أَحَدًا يُعِينُهُ, he could not see anyone who could come to his help. فَبَكَى بُكَاءً شَدِيدًا, he began weeping bitterly. Then he put his hands on his back and said, Al-an inkasara dhari. Abbas, my back is broken now. بان الانكسار على وجه الحسين. Hussein was heartbroken. It showed on his face. He took the alam of Abbas and went back. As he walked back, he kept wiping his tears with the sleeves of his shirt. Hay alam darna. Sakina ran out. What happened, Baba? Where is my Ammu Abbas? That was the last time you will hear any child in the camp crying Al-Atash. After that, there is no child who said, I am thirsty. What happened? Did the children get water? No. Abbas is not there. What is there to cry for? But no one cried Al-Atash. No one stopped crying Wa Abbasa. Hussein fell from his horse. He cried Wa Abbasa. The tents were set on fire. They cried Wa Abbasa. The women went to Kufa and Sham. They cried Wa Abbasa. When they went back to Medina and Banin was told, oh Banin, Hussein was killed in Karbala. Zainab was tied in ropes and taken around the bazaar. She said, why? Did Abbas leave? Was Abbas not there? They said, no, Banin. He was not given permission to fight. She would turn to Karbala and say, Abbas, law kana sayfuka fi yadik. If only you had your sword in your hand. Lama dana minka ahad. No one would have come near you, Abbas. Wa Abbasa. Wa Husaina. Wa Madluma. Matam ya Hussein.